Today I wanted us to look at our text coming from 2 Kings, Kings 18, verse 17. And the king of Assyria sent and Rashib and Rakesh from Lachish to King Hezekiah with a great host against Jerusalem. And they went up and came to Jerusalem. And when they were come up, they come and stood by the conduit of the upper pool, which is in the highway of the fulfilled. So basically, here we see the king of Assyria. He was threatening Hezekiah, Jerusalem, to destroy Jerusalem. I'm not going to give you the whole story from chapter 18. We can just jump on to 34. So here they are making a conversation. From verse 33 says, had any of the gods of the nations delivered at all this land out of the hand of the king of Assyria? Where are the gods of Hamat and of Apad? Where are the gods of Semaphim, Hena, and Ivan? Have they delivered Samaria out of my hand? That is the Assyrian king, telling his servant, just trying to show him that Hezekiah will not win this case. Look around. Look at how many gods have I destroyed. Look at the victories that I have won. So he does not even stand a chance to fight with us. Right? Something really that is outstanding here. It says, but the people held their peace, that is 36, and answered him not a word, for the king's commandment was saying, answer him not. So they were just listening to the king, bragging about of the destructions that he had done around in other nations, and telling them that Jerusalem will not win, Hezekiah will not win, because I have done so many, I've gotten so many victories around. So they did not answer him not, because that time you could not speak when the king speak. But I'm sure in their hearts they had other things to say, but because it was the king talking, telling them of the victories, they kept quiet. Now when we go to 19, chapter 19, it says, and it came to pass when the king Hezekiah heard it, that he rent his clothes and covered himself with sackcloth and went into the house of the Lord. Saints, I want us to understand here something that is not done by everyone. So in his majesty, I can perceive him wearing his garments, King Hezekiah, wearing his kingship clothes. He removes them, then sits down, and he remembers that I am nothing. I cannot have any victory without the Lord. And he rent his clothes and covered himself with sackcloth and went into the house of the Lord. How often do we remove self in us? This person, he sees that besides God, I am not even a king. He does not look himself as a king. He says, there is a higher man above me. There is a higher king above me. He removes his self-righteousness. He removes his self-victory. How often do we take self away when we are faced with situation and put God? How often do we rent our clothes and go to the house of the Lord? It doesn't say that he called his servants, no. It doesn't say that he did other things. It says he rent his clothes and went to where? To the house of the Lord to meet his maker. Now there's a difference here with the king of Assyria. The reason why I read some of those verses, when he was talking to his servants, telling them of his victories, he's gloating, he's boasting about his victories to his servants. Now there's a difference with Hezekiah. Hezekiah approaches it in a different way. When he hears this news, he then goes where? He goes to the temple. I'm going to pass some of the verses. Let us go to verse 9. That is in 2 Kings chapter 19. We are still in the same chapter, verse 9. It says, and when he had heard say of Tikasha, king of Ethiopia, behold, he is come out to fight against thee. He sent messages again unto Hezekiah, saying, Thus shall he speak to Hezekiah, king of Judah, saying, let not thy God in whom thou trusted deceive thee. If I remember these words, I remember the wife of Job. He is being discouraged again here, Hezekiah, saying, let not thy God deceive thee. It's the same words that the wife of Job says that, curse your God. I mean, there is nothing there. Let not your God deceive thee. Which God are we talking about? Which God did Hezekiah trust so much that he put his life as a king, that he did not listen to other people? It says here, saying, Jerusalem shall not be delivered into the hands of the king of Assyria. Verse 11, behold, thou have heard what the kings of Assyria have done to all lands by destroying them utterly, and thou shalt be delivered. That is a question for those that are following. There is a question mark there. Have the gods of the nations delivered them, which my fathers have destroyed? 13, where is the king of Hamath, and the king of Arpad, and the king of the city of Seraphim, of Hena, and of Ivan? And Hezekiah received the letter of his hand of the messengers, and read it. And Hezekiah went up into the house of the Lord, and spread it before the Lord. When he received the letter, when we receive the threats from the devil, when the devil tells you and shows you how many people he's been destroying, when he tells young people that you cannot do anything, when he shows your neighbors that marriages are failing, there is nothing, I have got the evidence, when he shows us that we cannot make it, at this stage, we are even looking at the statistics around. We are even watching a lot of things. There is so much fear in us. We are being shown real things. The devil has threatened us so much. But what is our response? Now, Hezekiah prayed, verse 15 says, and Hezekiah prayed before the Lord and said, oh God, Lord God of Israel, which delivered between the cherubims, thou art the God, even thou alone, of all the kingdom of the earth, thou have been God, thou made heavens and the earth. 16, Lord, bow down thy ear and hear, open, Lord, thy eyes and see. Hear the words of Sennacherib, that was the king of Syria, which had sent him to reproach the living God. Of a truth, Lord, the kings of Assyria have been destroyed, the nations and their lands, and have cast their gods into the fire, for there were no gods. Hey, are we together, saints? It says, because there were no gods, they were just the man-made gods. They were made of wood. They were just the empty threads. That's why they could be put in the fire. But he says on to Hezekiah is talking to his God, and have cast their gods into the fire, for they were no gods, but the work of men's hands, wood and stone. Therefore, they have destroyed them. 19 says, now therefore, O Lord our God, I beseech thee, save thou us out of his hand, that all the kingdoms of the earth may know that thou art the Lord God, even thou only. It says that I have seen other gods. I have seen what they have done. I know the threats that the devil has put. Some of us are coming from families that we were told that you are not going to be anything. And we have seen some of the family members, they have really been nothing. But remember that Hezekiah, in his heavy heart, he opened his heart. It says he opened the letter, he opened the threats, and went into the house of the Lord and said, God, this is not my battle. It is your battle. This man is reproaching you. I trust in thee, O Lord. Do not put me to shame. Right? Let us just quickly go to Psalms 25. That is David again. He is talking to his God in the same manner that Hezekiah was talking to his God. I will read just verse 1 to 6 because of time. Unto the Lord do I lift up my soul. O my God, I trust in thee. Let me not be ashamed. Let not my enemies triumph over me. Yea, let none that wait on thee be ashamed. Let them be ashamed which transgress without cause. Show me thy ways, O Lord. Teach me thy paths. Lead me in thy truth and teach me, for thou art the God of my salvation. On thee I do wait all day long. He is not saying I wait in the morning. He's not saying I wait sometimes when I've got problems, but he says I wait all day long, meaning he is gazing, he is looking steadfastly upon the Lord. That's why we are so encouraged, Christians, to pray unceasingly before the Lord, to seek him earnestly daily. That is what David was saying. Remember, O Lord, thy tender mercies and thy loving kindness, for they have been forever of old. Remember not the sins of my youth, nor my transgressions. According to thy mercy, remember thou me for thy goodness' sake, O Lord. Now, if I try to put these people together, their trust in the Lord is outstanding. They were kings, remember, both of them, they had positions that were outstanding. They had armies, they had almost everything that could put them in positions of power, but they rent themselves. They went into the temple. How often do we run to the Lord? Some of us are so afraid, we are not even sure if month end is going to come. We are not even sure if the food for the children is going to come. But so often we are so glued up on news. We are so glued up on our chats. Even in the morning, the first thing that some of us do is to look up and see how many states, how many people with this. Apart from this, we also have got our own problems. But how often do we rend ourselves and go to the house of the Lord and say, Lord, I have come. Lord, these are the threats that the devil is showing me. When I look around, yes, it's a real God. He's been doing it. But remember that God is everlasting. He says, lo and behold, I am with you always. He did not say that he will take away the situation, saints. He did not say that we are not going to go through trials. But he says, lo and behold, I am with you. But what do we do? You remember the song that says, heavy trials and temptations. Is there trouble anywhere? We should never be discouraged. Take it all to the Lord in prayer. In all that we do, saints, I know the world is in a commotion. Everything seems not to be making sense. But God is still sitting on his throne. He is not moved. No situation can change him. Nothing can move God. He is watching over his children. All we need to do is to rend ourselves, remove self in us, and go to him and say, Lord, I have come. The threats are everywhere. Danger is everywhere, but you are still the living God. May this carry us as we go through these trials, that our God is bigger than the Assyrian kings. Sometimes we see our problems, they last a bit longer, but remember, the situation of Paul. Some of these stones cannot be just taken. He says, my grace is sufficient for you. Whatever we are going through, be it our marriages, be it our children, be it things, be it at work, be it this virus, let us remember God's grace is sufficient. If we hold on to him, he will carry us through. He will lift us up and he will make us not be swayed because we fully trust in him. May the good Lord bless us as we put our trust in him. Amen.